next musical is Very Good Eddie, which was a 1915 Princess Theater musical. The Princess musical set a trend for an entire group of shows that played Broadway in the last decade. Princess Theater musicals were more sophisticated, integrated, humorous, and believable than musicals that came before them. They got their name because they played at the Princess Theater on 39th Street and 6th Avenue, the smallest Broadway house of its time. It had only 299 seats. Can you imagine how cool it would be if we had a 299-seat Broadway theater? We would be doing some weird shit.
Very Good Eddie was revived at the Booth in 1975 and was the first Goodspeed musical to actually be partially produced by Goodspeed on Broadway. The show was about two mismatched couples on their honeymoons and was hailed as a charming view of a more innocent America. With book by Guy Bolton and music by Jerome Kern, the lyrics were mainly by P.G. Wodehouse.
The New York Times review was so good that the week after opening, the show just reprinted it word for word as their ad. Absolutely. That used to happen. Absolutely enchanting. Douglas Watt at the Daily News gave my favorite review, though, with, "You always come back to Kern. You have to. Gyrate to Gershwin, pulsate to Porter, but save a special place for Kern." I feel like he was he rehearsing for was he BMI workshop? I don't know what, it sounds like lyrics. He also wrote, "Like the Hudson River on which the steamer of the silly plot pursues its course, the dialogue is seriously unpolluted."
I think it's sweet. There were a couple of critics who didn't love the show, with the Los Angeles Times noting that Very Good Eddie creaked and wheezed with every joke. But Very Good Eddie, to audiences of 1975, would have been as far back as Damn Yankees is to us today. So audiences at that time just weren't as used to revivals yet, as there weren't as many classic musicals in the canon.
Isn't that crazy to think about? Or how people in 2075 will feel about Fun Home, and now we're all thinking about our own mortality. See, it got pretty amazing reviews. Well, you were busy with the holidays. A new musical hit slipped into town. Very Good Eddie inspired much speculation about the idea of a permanent home on Broadway for small, nostalgic musical revivals. Michael Price of Goodspeed spent time negotiating with the owners of the Playhouse Theater on 48th Street and the Harkness on 62nd, both Broadway theaters and potential homes for a permanent series of old song and dance shows. This unfortunately didn't happen, and both of those theaters are now demolished. That's right. Boo that.
Playing 1/4 of the honeymooning couples was a 25-year-old Nick Wyman. The Soho Weekly News wrote, "Percy Darling is a winsome oaf nicely turned out, played by Nick Wyman." And the Daily News called him lanky. Here to speak about and perform from Very Good Eddie, original revival cast member Nick Wyman.
Friday, lanky. So yeah, this is the 100th anniversary of Very Good Eddie, and as Ed said, I was not in the original cast. They went in a different direction. But I did do it 40 years ago, and it was sort of my big break, and it was perfect because when they were casting, they were looking for someone absolutely my sweet spot, an asshole in a suit. And not only that, they wanted a very large asshole in a suit. So it was great. So as I said, it's a mismatched couple, tall bossy guy and a little mousy woman, and a tall bossy woman and a little mousy guy. And off we go. And this was, as was said, it's been back before Goodspeed was churning out, revivals that they would send to Broadway. This was the first, and it was not even intended to be the one that went to Broadway. They did back then 2 revivals and a new show. The previous season they'd done Shenandoah, which came to Broadway, and that season they were doing Cowboy, which I was also cast in. And so I was looking forward to going to Broadway with Cowboy, and I'm still looking forward to going to Broadway. I think it's my next show after Rebecca. So. Very Good Eddie was a big hit on Goodspeed, and we did Very Good Eddie, and then we did Cowboy, and then Michael was determined, because we got this rave review from Clive Barnes when we were up in Goodspeed, to get somebody to take it to Broadway. So he brought us back for 4 weeks after Cowboy closed, looking for a producer, And nobody came in. They brought us back for another 2 weeks. And looking for a producer. And then brought us back for another 2 weeks. But this time, it was Halloween. And at that time, this was before Goodspeed used to run their shows for, every show for 16 weeks. And it's like you're worth your life to go off to Goodspeed to East Haven to do one show because you're there for 4 months. The shows used to, stop at Labor Day. And we were thinking, what do I want for Thanksgiving up here? But David Merrick came to the last show and decided to bring it to New York. So we came to New York and we opened on December 19th. So our first preview was December 17th, I remember this. And Charlie had gone to this new bistro, Ted Hoke's Backstage, that opened up on 45th Street. So that night, after our first preview, I said to Spring, the tall, bossy woman, come on, let's go over to this Ted Hoke's Backstage place. So we go over and have a spinach salad, whatever the hell we're having. And Spring leads over to me and she says, they're playing our show. And I said, Spring, the show's 60 years old. Nobody here had ever heard of the show, let alone they're playing it on the piano. But no, at the end of the number, the guy goes, and that was Very Good Eddie. That was Babes in the Woods from Very Good Eddie, and we have the stars of Very Good Eddie here. And I'm thinking, is Charlie back here? And I'm looking around for Charlie in Virginia. No. Spring Fairbank and Nicholas Wyman. I thought, wow, this is really cool. I'm being introduced in these, supper clubs. Never happened again. But Babes in the Woods was a hit song from the show. It's a really sweet little song. It goes like this. Little lady, don't be depressed and blue. After all, we're both in the same canoe. Have no fear, can't you see I'm here until our journey is through. Little lady, I will take care of you. Give me your hand here where we stand. We're off to Slumberland. With you, I'm now Charlie Size. With you, although we've no angel for us, watching over us. Moonlight, kiss me as I touch. And that's oh my God! Well, you're not old enough to have seen the show.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah, that was the hit show from the song, and it sold lots of piano music for drum current. But I didn't do any sweet songs because I was an asshole in a suit, exactly. So my song, I was this hearty guy. Anybody know the movie The Awful Truth with Cary Grant and Irene Dunn and Ralph Bellamy? I was sort of Ralph Bellamy Hardy with a bit of an edge. So was a mildly abusive husband, I suppose. Oh, let us fly without delay into the country far away. We're free from all this care and strife. We'll go and lead the simple life. How clear the voice of nature calls. I'll go and get some overalls. Get a last year's almanac to read at night when things are slack. Let's build a little bungalow in Quogue, in Yaphank or in Hicksville or Patchogue, where we can sniff the scented breeze and pluck tomatoes from the trees, where there is room to exercise the dog. How pleasant it will be through life to jog, with Bill the Bull and Hildebrand the Hog. Each morn we'll waken from our doze when Reginald the rooster crows down in our little bungalow in Quogue. Let's build a little bungalow in Quogue, in Yaphank or in Hicksville or Patchogue. If life should tend to be a bore, we'll call on Farmer Brown next door and get an earful of his dialogue. When winter comes and brings the snow and fog, we'll fortify our system with hot grog, and listen when the nights are still to Wilberforce the whippoorwill, down in our little bungalow in Quogue.